On the quiet planet of Vera, the sun rose over green plains and crystal rivers. The Orlans, a peaceful alien race, went about their daily life without fear. They were intelligent and skilled in technology, but they had little experience with true war. Their cities were beautiful, built with shining towers and bridges that floated above the ground. Life was calm, and the Orlans believed it would remain so forever. One day, strange ships appeared in the sky. They were sleek, silver, and unlike anything the Orlans had seen before. At first, there was excitement. The Orlans thought these visitors were explorers from a distant planet. A small group of humans landed in the main city. They walked with confidence and curiosity, observing everything with quiet eyes. They smiled politely and spoke in words the Orlans could understand thanks to translators. The humans seemed fragile. Their skin was soft, their bodies smaller than the Orlans, and they showed no signs of heavy weaponry. Many Orlans whispered that these beings looked harmless. The city leaders welcomed them, offering food and shelter. The humans thanked them but said little. They moved slowly, observing every corner of the city, every structure, every guard. At night, while the Orlans slept, the humans acted. They did not attack loudly or shout. They used small tools and devices to quietly disable the city's security systems. Cameras turned off. Energy shields failed. Doors opened silently. In the darkness, the humans moved like shadows, precise and careful. They were not cruel. They did not destroy for fun. They worked as a team, each knowing what the others would do. When the Orlans woke the next morning, horror filled the city. Humans were everywhere. They moved with speed and intelligence, capturing key buildings and controlling the city's communication. The Orlans tried to fight back, but their weapons were slow, their tactics too simple. They had never faced an enemy that could learn so quickly or adapt so fast. A young Orlan named Kira watched in fear and disbelief. She was brave and clever, but even she could not understand how these small, seemingly weak creatures could cause so much chaos. Kira ran through the streets, helping citizens escape to the outer forests. Families ran with her, their faces pale, their hearts heavy. Humans captured only what was necessary. They did not kill the weak. They focused on control and strategy. The city leaders, once proud and confident, now huddled together in a high tower. They sent messages to other cities, warning them of the humans' power. But even as they spoke, humans were already moving toward the gates. They anticipated every move. They were patient, waiting for the right moment to strike, never acting out of fear or anger. Kira realized that this was not a normal attack. The humans were not here for conquest alone. They were here to survive and to ensure that nothing would stop them. Each human acted as if they had faced worse dangers and had always survived. Kira remembered stories from her elders about invaders in the past, but none had ever been like this. None had adapted so quickly or used intelligence in such a perfect way. By noon, most of the city was under human control. The Orlans who resisted were captured and held safely. The humans did not celebrate or gloat. They moved with quiet efficiency, securing resources and organizing their new positions. The city, once peaceful, felt strange and alive with tension. Even Kira felt it. She saw a strange power in the humans. They were small but unstoppable. The Orlans began to whisper the truth among themselves. Humanity was not an ordinary race. They were survivors, thinkers, and warriors all at once. They did not fight recklessly. They did not panic. They calculated every action, learning from every moment. Kira knew that the rest of the planet must prepare for what was coming. The morning sun painted the sky in shades of gold and red. Smoke still rose from the outskirts of the city, and the quiet streets of Vero were now filled with tension. The humans moved carefully through the city, their faces calm, their eyes observing every detail. The Orlans, though stunned, began to regroup. They had survived the first wave, but the humans had already proven that they were clever, organized, and unstoppable. Kira led a small group of survivors through hidden tunnels beneath the city. Families, injured citizens, and a few young warriors followed her closely. They moved silently, avoiding the patrols of humans above. Kira's mind raced as she thought of ways to fight back. She knew that ordinary weapons and simple plans would not be enough. The humans were too fast, too clever, and too precise. Outside the city, the forests provided some cover. The Orlans set up temporary camps in the dense trees. Here, they could think, plan, and breathe without constant fear. Kira gathered her group around a small fire. The flames flickered in their eyes as she spoke. "We have survived the first attack," Kira said, her voice steady. "But survival is not enough. We must understand them. Humans are not like any enemy we have faced. They learn quickly, adapt faster, and think in ways we do not understand. If we do not change, we will not last." The Orlans listened carefully. Some were frightened, but many felt a spark of determination. Kira knew that fear could be useful if it was turned into focus and strategy. She divided the group into smaller teams, assigning each a task. Some would scout human movements, others would gather supplies, and a few would study human behavior from a distance. The humans, meanwhile, were not idle. They moved through the city with quiet efficiency. They repaired broken systems, studied maps, and set up communication channels. They treated captured Orlans with surprising fairness, giving them food and water. It was clear that humans valued order, intelligence, and teamwork above cruelty. Yet their presence was undeniable. They had changed the balance of power completely. Days passed, and Kira observed the humans from hidden vantage points. She noticed that they worked together without needing constant orders. One human would signal to another, and their actions were always coordinated. Even when faced with unexpected obstacles, they adapted instantly. Kira realized that this was their strength. They were not powerful because of weapons alone, but because of their mind and spirit. The Orlans tried small attacks. They set up traps, blocked roads, and attempted ambushes. At first, these tactics seemed to work. Humans paused, assessed the situation, and quickly found solutions. Sometimes, they avoided traps entirely. Other times, they dismantled them and used them against the Orlans. Every attempt to harm or slow the humans revealed how intelligent and adaptable they were. Kira began to see a pattern. Humans were not motivated by anger or hate. They did not fight for revenge. They acted with purpose, as if every move mattered to their survival and the survival of those they cared about. Kira realized that understanding this mindset was crucial. The Orlans could not fight humans the way they fought other enemies. They needed to think like humans, to anticipate, adapt, and plan in ways they had never tried before. One night, under the stars, Kira spoke to her group again. The firelight reflected determination in their eyes. "We are small in number," she said. "But we are not powerless. Humans are strong because they learn. We can survive if we learn to. We must study them, predict them, and use our minds as much as our hands. Only then can we protect our people and our home." The group agreed. From that moment, they became more than survivors. They became observers, learners, and strategists. Every day, they watched the humans, noting how they moved, communicated, and solved problems. Kira realized that humans were not monsters. They were something else entirely, a force that could not be defeated by fear or anger alone. Meanwhile, humans continued their work in the city. They built systems to keep the population safe, repaired damages, and shared knowledge with anyone willing to learn. They did not show unnecessary violence. When Orlans resisted, humans acted with precision, capturing without harm whenever possible. Their actions were a mixture of care and control. Kira's hope grew. She saw that if her people could adapt, they might survive. But she also knew the danger was far from over. Humanity had arrived, and they were not leaving. They were not cruel, but they were unstoppable. The Orlans faced a difficult truth: they could not fight humans the same way they fought any other enemy. They had to evolve, or they would fall. As the sun set, Kira looked toward the city from the forest. Smoke still curled above the towers, but she no longer saw only destruction. She saw an opportunity. Humanity had awakened something within the Orlans: the need to fight smarter, to plan carefully, and to protect their future with every action. Flames of resistance were rising. Kira knew that this was only the beginning. The struggle for Vera and its people had just begun, and the humans would not make it easy. The days passed slowly for Kira and the Orlans hiding in the forest. They watched the humans carefully, learning their habits, movements, and methods. Every day brought new observations. Humans did not act recklessly. They did not panic when things went wrong. Instead, they adapted, adjusted, and moved forward with precision. Kira realized that the humans' strength was not just in their weapons or tools. It was in their mind. They solved problems quickly, used teamwork perfectly, and never wasted time. Even when faced with unexpected situations, they found solutions that seemed impossible. Kira began to write down what she saw. She noted how humans communicated silently, how they divided tasks based on skill, and how they anticipated obstacles before they happened. One morning, Kira decided it was time to test a small plan. She and a few young Orlans set up a simple trap along a path the humans often used. They thought it would slow them down. As the humans approached, Kira held her breath. The humans paused, studied the trap, and then carefully dismantled it. They even used part of it to block a different path, turning the Orlans' plan against them. Kira felt a mix of fear and respect. These beings were unlike any enemy she had ever faced. They were not cruel, but they were unstoppable because they learned from every challenge. Kira returned to the forest camp with her group and explained what had happened. "We cannot fight them with strength alone," she said. "We must learn to think like them. We must anticipate, adapt, and act quickly. Only then can we have a chance." The group began to train in new ways. They practiced teamwork, silent communication, and clever problem solving. They studied human patterns and learned how to move without being noticed. Every day, they tried small experiments, testing traps, tactics, and strategies. Some worked. Some failed. But each failure taught them something new. Meanwhile, the humans continued their work in the city. They repaired damaged buildings, set up energy grids, and organized supplies for the citizens. They treated the Orlans they captured with care. No unnecessary harm was done. Yet, their presence was commanding. Even when alone, a human could control a situation with calm authority. Kira began to understand that humans were not cruel, but they were relentless. Their will to survive and protect others made them unstoppable. One night, Kira approached a captured human who had been quietly observing the forest. She spoke softly, asking questions about their behavior. The human responded calmly, explaining how they plan, learn, and adapt. Kira listened carefully. She realized that humans were not only clever but also disciplined. Every action had meaning. Every decision was calculated. The Orlans began to respect the humans' intelligence. They started to imitate some of their methods. Small teams worked together more efficiently. They communicated with signals and codes. They observed first, acted second. Slowly, they became smarter in their resistance. Despite the fear humans inspired, hope grew among the Orlans. Kira saw that survival was possible if they worked together and learned quickly. They could not match humans in sheer adaptability, but they could prepare and plan carefully. Humans were a challenge unlike any other, but challenges could be faced with courage and thought. One afternoon, a human patrol approached the forest. Kira's group held their positions, ready to act. Instead of attacking immediately, they watched. The humans moved silently, checking the forest carefully. Then, unexpectedly, the humans left without incident. Kira realized that humans were not just fighters. They were observers. They did not waste energy on unnecessary conflict. They acted with purpose. Kira gathered her group by the fire that evening. "We are learning," she said. "They are not monsters. They are teachers in their own way. We must continue to watch, to think, and to prepare. If we survive, it will be because we adapt. If we fail, it will be because we stop learning." The Orlans nodded, their faces serious. They understood that fear alone could not guide them. They needed wisdom, strategy, and courage. Each member of the group took their role seriously. Scouts returned with information. Engineers built clever tools. Warriors practiced silent movements. Every day brought improvement, even if small. The humans, unaware of the growing Orlan resistance in the forest, continued to secure the city. They repaired damages, maintained order, and prepared for any future challenges. Kira realized that humans were not only clever and strong, but also patient. They did not rush. They acted deliberately, with foresight and focus. By the end of the week, Kira felt a quiet pride. Her people were learning. They were no longer only survivors, they were thinkers, planners, and strategists. They were learning lessons from fire, from observation, and from the humans themselves. The forest camp grew stronger each day. Kira knew that the coming battles would not be easy. Humans were formidable, and their abilities were unmatched. But hope lived in the hearts of the Orlans. They had survived the first attacks, learned the humans' methods, and begun their own transformation. The humans had awakened something in the Orlans. Something that would change them forever. Kira understood that the struggle ahead was not only for survival, but for understanding, adaptation, and courage. Humanity had arrived, and the Orlans were beginning to rise to the challenge. Kira and the Orlans knew they could not face humanity alone. The humans were clever, fast, and relentless. Each day, their strategies and strength became clearer. The Orlans' small resistance could survive in the forests, but to protect Vera and their people, they needed allies. Kira decided it was time to seek help from neighboring planets. The journey was dangerous. Kira led a small group through hidden tunnels and abandoned spacecraft. They traveled to distant worlds, carrying messages and warnings about humanity's arrival. Some planets had heard rumors of humans but did not believe them. Others had faced minor skirmishes with humans in the past. Many were skeptical. They thought the humans could be reasoned with, controlled, or avoided. Kira explained calmly, humans are not like other beings. They do not act with cruelty for fun. They act with purpose, intelligence, and survival in mind. If we do not prepare together, all of our planets may fall. They adapt, they learn, and they overcome challenges that seem impossible. Slowly, she gained support. A few neighboring civilizations understood the danger. They remembered how quickly humans had taken control of Vera. They remembered the stories of precision, teamwork, and adaptability. These civilizations agreed to join a coalition to protect their planets. Kira felt relief and hope. United, they might stand a chance. Back on Vera, humans noticed signs of the Orlans' plans. Scouts reported small groups leaving the forests, moving toward distant transport stations. Humans did not panic. They studied the movements and adjusted their defenses. Their strategy was calm and deliberate. They secured the city, repaired systems, and set traps not to harm but to observe. Humans understood that the Orlans would learn, and they used that knowledge to prepare. The coalition began its work. Representatives from each planet met secretly, sharing resources, knowledge, and strategies. Kira led the Orlans group, explaining what they had learned from observing humans. Every detail mattered. They discussed human behavior, communication patterns, and problem-solving methods. The coalition realized that ordinary tactics would not work. Humans were unlike any enemy they had faced. Kira emphasized teamwork and adaptation. Humans do not act alone, she said. They plan together, support each other, and anticipate challenges. We must do the same. We cannot rely only on power. We must think, learn, and act as one. Only then can we survive. The coalition started training. Engineers studied human tools and technology. Scouts practiced silent observation and communication. Warriors learned to move in coordinated groups, planning each step carefully. Every day, the Orlans improved, gaining knowledge and experience. Humans had unknowingly taught them lessons through their presence and behavior. Humans, aware of the coalition forming, prepared calmly. They increased patrols, reinforced key positions, and observed alien movements. Yet they did not act aggressively without reason. Humans preferred careful planning, adapting to new threats as they appeared. Their patience and intelligence made them an even greater challenge. One night, Kira looked up at the stars, thinking about the coalition. She realized the importance of unity. Humans had awakened not just fear, but determination. They had forced the Orlans to grow stronger, smarter, and more connected. This challenge, while dangerous, was also an opportunity. Her people would not only survive, they would evolve. The humans continued their work in the city, maintaining order and repairing damages. They treated captured Orlans with care, showing that they were not cruel, only focused. Each human acted with intelligence and foresight. Kira observed them silently, learning once more. Their adaptability was endless. Even when confronted with coalition plans, humans adjusted without hesitation. Kira gathered the coalition leaders. "We have knowledge, resources, and courage," she said. "Humans are strong, but they are not invincible. They can adapt, but so can we. We must work together, plan carefully, and remain patient. Our unity is our greatest weapon." Plans were made for defense, communication, and training. Each planet shared information about terrain, resources, and potential strategies. The coalition understood that their survival depended not on strength alone, but on intelligence, coordination, and observation. Every member learned from the humans' example, preparing for the challenges ahead. As dawn broke over Vera, Kira returned to the forest with a sense of purpose. The humans were still in the city, still observing, still planning. But now, the Orlans were not alone. They had allies across the stars. Humanity had awakened something greater than fear. It had awakened determination, unity, and hope. Kira knew the coming days would test them all. The humans were relentless, patient, and intelligent. But the Orlans and their allies had learned to think, to adapt, and to work as one. The stage was set for the next phase of the struggle. The battle for survival was no longer only about strength. It was about knowledge, strategy, and courage. Humanity had arrived, and their presence had changed everything. The Orlans and their allies understood that victory would not be easy, but they also knew that with unity and wisdom, survival was possible. Kira felt a spark of confidence. They would face the humans not with fear, but with strategy and determination. A new chapter in the fight had begun, and the universe would witness how challenges could awaken courage and intelligence. Kira had spent weeks observing the humans from hidden positions near the city. She had seen their strength, intelligence, and adaptability in action. Yet, the more she watched, the more she realized there was something deeper about humanity that set them apart from every other race she had known. They were not only clever, they were unstoppable because of how they thought. Humans planned carefully. Every move had a purpose. When faced with obstacles, they did not panic. They analyzed, adapted, and executed solutions with precision. Kira noticed how they communicated silently, sometimes with subtle gestures, sometimes with short messages on devices. Every human knew their role, and every role mattered. Kira shared her observations with her coalition allies. They are not only fighters, she explained. They are thinkers, learners, and problem solvers. They survive not because they are stronger, but because they understand, adapt, and act with intention. We must learn to do the same if we hope to protect our worlds. The coalition began experimenting with new strategies. Engineers studied human tools and attempted to reverse engineer them. Scouts practiced silent observation and learned how humans anticipated danger. Warriors trained in patience, discipline, and coordination, focusing not only on strength but on precision and timing. Every small step brought them closer to understanding the humans' methods. One day, Kira led a small observation team closer to the city than ever before. From a hidden ridge, she saw humans repairing a damaged bridge. Two humans worked together, lifting heavy sections with coordinated movements. Another monitored the structure, adjusting plans as needed. Kira realized that humans relied on each other, trusted each other, and learned together. Their survival was not only individual, it was collective. The humans also showed care for the citizens of the city. Kira had expected cruelty, but instead she saw humans helping injured Orlans, distributing food, and maintaining calm. They were firm, disciplined, and unyielding when necessary, but they balanced strength with intelligence and care. This duality made them unpredictable and unstoppable. Kira reflected on what she had learned. Humans were different from any species she had encountered. Their minds were as powerful as their bodies. They could endure hardship, adapt quickly, and turn even impossible situations to their advantage. Every encounter with them taught a lesson in strategy, patience, and intelligence. That night, Kira gathered her group around the fire. "We are learning," she said quietly. "We are small, but we can survive if we think carefully. Humans plan, observe, and adapt. We must do the same. We cannot fight them with force alone. We must use our minds, our strategy, and our unity." The Orlans took her words seriously. Each day, they practiced observation and problem solving. Scouts reported human movements, engineers suggested clever solutions to challenges, and warriors trained in coordination and patience. Slowly, the Orlans began to evolve, thinking more like humans while keeping their own skills and knowledge. Humans continued their work in the city. They strengthened defenses, maintained systems, and prepared for unexpected threats. They observed carefully, learning about the Orlans' attempts at resistance. Whenever the Orlans made a small move, the humans adapted immediately. Yet, they never acted recklessly. They chose their battles, and every action was deliberate. Kira began to understand that humans were not motivated by anger or hatred. They acted with purpose. They were driven by survival, protection, and curiosity. They solved problems as they appeared and learned constantly from their environment. This mindset, Kira realized, made them stronger than any weapon, fleet, or army. The coalition worked late into the night, discussing strategies and refining plans. Kira shared her observations of human behavior, emphasizing adaptability, teamwork, and foresight. The aliens began to see patterns. Humans were not chaotic or random. They were deliberate, efficient, and clever in ways the Orlans had never imagined. As days passed, Kira noticed another trait: humans never gave up. They did not fear failure. Instead, they treated every mistake as an opportunity to learn. Every obstacle became a lesson, every problem a chance to grow stronger. This resilience, combined with intelligence, made humanity a force that could not be underestimated. By the end of the week, Kira felt a quiet determination. The Orlans and their allies had learned much, but they had more to understand. Humans were not monsters, but they were relentless. They demanded respect, observation, and careful planning. Kira realized that survival depended not only on strength, but on knowledge, adaptability, and unity. The humans had awakened something within the Orlans. They had forced them to think, to grow, and to evolve. Kira knew that the coming battles would not be easy, but she also understood that knowledge was power. By studying the human mind, the Orlans could prepare for the challenges ahead and protect their people. Humanity's presence had changed everything. The Orlans and their allies now faced a new reality: survival would require learning, planning, and courage. Kira felt a spark of hope. They had seen the power of human thought and would use it as inspiration to rise stronger than ever. The fight was far from over, but the Orlans were ready to adapt and meet humanity on the battlefield of intellect and strategy. The coalition had grown stronger. Orlans and their allies prepared for a large counterattack. Kira stood at the edge of a cliff, overlooking the city of Vera. Below, the humans had rebuilt their defenses, repaired damaged towers, and organized patrols. Every human moved with purpose, calm and disciplined. Kira's heart pounded. The humans were clever and adaptive, but she believed in her people. The coalition had studied, planned, and trained for this moment. At dawn, the coalition launched their attack. Ships moved through the skies, moving in coordinated formations. Ground teams advanced from hidden paths and forests. The humans noticed immediately. Scouts reported the movements, and humans adjusted their defenses. Energy barriers rose, checkpoints were reinforced, and humans silently took positions at critical points. Kira watched in awe. The humans were calm and deliberate, even under the threat of a massive assault. The first clash occurred at the city gates. Orlan warriors and their allies charged forward, but humans had anticipated their approach. Small teams moved strategically, cutting off paths, and using the terrain to their advantage. Each human acted with precision. They were not reckless. Every action was calculated, and every move turned the coalition's plan into a learning experience. Kira realized the truth she had suspected: humans were not only fighters, but thinkers. They adapted instantly, using every attack as an opportunity to learn and improve. When one path was blocked, they quickly found another. When an ambush failed, they used it to trap the attackers. Humans were relentless, patient, and intelligent. On the battlefield, Kira saw both the mercy and the precision of humanity. They captured enemies without unnecessary harm, treated injured civilians carefully, and maintained order even in chaos. Yet, when necessary, they struck with unstoppable force. Humans were not cruel, but they were undeniable in their power and focus. The coalition tried again and again, each attack revealing another human tactic. Humans coordinated silently, moved in perfect unison, and anticipated every strategy. Kira's warriors began to understand that fighting humanity required not only strength but intelligence. Humans demanded strategy, patience, and foresight. Ordinary plans failed. Only cleverness and learning could match their precision. Despite the challenge, Kira felt determination. Her people had adapted too. They had learned teamwork, observation, and quick decision-making. Every failure taught a lesson. Every small victory brought hope. The humans had awakened something in the Orlans: courage, wisdom, and unity. Kira led a small team to rescue captured civilians from a neighborhood that had been cut off. They moved silently through side streets, avoiding human patrols when possible. Occasionally, humans observed their movements but never acted aggressively. Kira realized the humans were watching and learning as well. Each side adapted to the other, but humans had the advantage of experience and intelligence. In the heart of the city, humans had established command centers. From there, they monitored the battlefield, communicated efficiently, and made decisions instantly. Their teamwork was flawless. Kira watched from a distance, understanding that humans were a mirror of what survival demanded. They were careful, smart, and unyielding. Their strength came not from weapons alone, but from their mind and will. As the sun began to set, the coalition's attacks slowed. Kira gathered her leaders. "We are learning," she said. "Humans are strong, intelligent, and patient. Every time we strike, they adapt. But we are not defeated. We must continue to study them, to learn, and to work together. Only then can we survive." The humans, meanwhile, prepared for the next day. They repaired minor damages, reinforced weak points, and shared knowledge among themselves. They did not celebrate victories unnecessarily. Each human acted with focus, ensuring that their strategy would succeed. Kira realized that patience was part of their power. They did not rush. They observed, adapted, and struck only when it was most effective. Night fell, and the battlefield became quiet. Kira reflected on what she had seen. Humans were not monsters. They were not cruel for the sake of cruelty. They were thinkers, planners, and warriors who acted with purpose. They had awakened a force in the Orlans, forcing them to grow stronger, smarter, and braver. The coalition understood the challenge. They knew that survival required more than strength, it required adaptation, learning, and unity. Kira looked at the stars above. Humanity had arrived, and they had changed everything. The Orlans and their allies had learned lessons that could shape the future. The humans' presence had tested them, pushed them, and forced them to evolve. The next battles would be difficult, but Kira knew one truth: humanity's judgment was clear. They were relentless, intelligent, and unstoppable in their pursuit of survival and order. For the first time, Kira understood the full depth of humanity. They were a species that did not rely on fear, cruelty, or chaos. They relied on intelligence, adaptation, and teamwork. They were teachers in their own way, showing the Orlans that survival was more than strength. It was courage, strategy, and the ability to learn from every moment. The coalition rested that night, readying themselves for the coming days. Kira felt both fear and determination. Humanity had awakened something powerful in her people. The struggle was not over, but the Orlans would not give up. They would continue to fight, learn, and adapt. Humanity had come to Vera, and the Orlans had begun to rise to meet them, stronger and wiser than before. The sky above Vera burned with the colors of dawn. Smoke still rose from the city, but life had not ended. Kira stood on a hill with the coalition leaders. They had fought, learned, and survived. The humans in the city below moved calmly, repairing systems, organizing resources, and planning their next steps. Every action they took was precise, deliberate, and intelligent. Kira knew this was the final challenge. Humanity was not a race that could be defeated by force alone. They adapted, learned, and overcame. The coalition had grown stronger, but every plan, every strategy, every move had to account for the humans' intelligence and foresight. The battle for Vera was not only physical, it was a test of mind, courage, and endurance. The coalition launched a coordinated assault. Ships flew from orbit, ground teams advanced through forests, and scouts moved quietly through hidden paths. Yet humans were ready. They had anticipated the coalition's strategies, adjusting their defenses and positioning themselves at key points. Energy shields rose, communications remained uninterrupted, and humans coordinated silently to meet every challenge. The first clash was fierce but controlled. Humans moved with precision, using every advantage, turning obstacles into opportunities. They did not act recklessly. They captured enemies when possible, protected civilians, and responded to every threat with intelligence and patience. Kira watched as her warriors tried to adapt. Every step forward was met with careful human calculation, every attack analyzed and countered. Kira realized the truth that had become clear over the past weeks. Humans were not cruel, but they were unstoppable. They did not fight for hatred or revenge. They fought to survive, to protect, and to adapt. Their minds were as powerful as their bodies. Every failure, every obstacle, only made them stronger. The coalition tried new tactics, learned from previous battles, and coordinated their movements. Engineers used clever devices to block pathways, scouts reported human positions, and warriors struck from multiple directions. Humans responded instantly, adjusting to each new situation with calm intelligence. Kira could see their teamwork, their foresight, and their adaptability. It was impossible to surprise them for long. Even so, the Orlans and their allies refused to give up. They had grown stronger, smarter, and more united. They moved carefully, thinking through every decision, learning from every mistake, and supporting each other. Kira's leadership and the coalition's training had made them more capable than ever before. Humanity had awakened determination and courage in the hearts of every alien present. In the center of the city, humans maintained calm authority. They repaired critical infrastructure, ensured the safety of civilians, and monitored every movement. Their discipline and intelligence were unmatched. Kira understood that humans were not only warriors but teachers of strategy and patience. The Orlans had learned more from observing humans than from any other experience in their history. As the battle continued, Kira noticed something extraordinary. Humans did not simply react. They planned, predicted, and executed flawlessly. They adapted to new threats instantly, and their teamwork amplified their abilities. Every member knew their role, and every action had purpose. The humans' presence had transformed the battlefield into a place of learning and challenge. By evening, the coalition paused to regroup. Kira looked at her people. They were tired but determined. Humanity had shown them what true adaptation meant. The Orlans had faced fear, chaos, and destruction, but they had also learned courage, intelligence, and resilience. Humanity had awakened something greater than fear. It had awakened strength and hope. Kira turned to the stars, thinking of the worlds that had joined the coalition. She realized that survival was no longer only about strength. It was about learning, unity, and courage. Humans had forced the Orlans to rise, to evolve, and to see beyond fear. They had not only changed Vera but had changed the very way the Orlans thought and acted. As night fell, the humans stood silently in the city square. Kira observed them from a distance, understanding the full depth of their presence. They were patient, intelligent, and relentless. They did not seek destruction for its own sake. They were alive in a way that demanded respect. They had awakened a force in the universe that could not be ignored. Kira spoke quietly to her coalition. We have survived, we have learned, and we have grown stronger. Humans are not monsters. They are a challenge, a teacher, and a mirror of what survival truly means. We must continue to adapt, to learn, and to protect our people. Humanity has awakened us, and we will rise to meet them. The Orlans nodded. They had seen the power of human thought, the precision of human action, and the endurance of human spirit. They had fought, observed, and learned. Humanity had arrived on Vera, and the planet would never be the same. The humans' presence had changed everything, forcing every species to evolve, to think, and to face the true meaning of survival. Kira smiled, a mixture of fear and respect in her eyes. Humanity was not only a force of survival, it was a force of awakening. Every world that encountered them would learn, adapt, and grow stronger. Humanity had risen, and the universe had witnessed the birth of a power that could not be contained. Vera was quiet once more. The city glowed under the moonlight, but the echoes of battle remained. Humanity had come, and the universe had seen the monster they had awakened, not a creature of destruction, but a species of resilience, intelligence, and unstoppable will. Survival was no longer guaranteed for those who underestimated them. Humanity had awakened, and everything would be changed forever. As night fell again, humans gathered in the city square. They stood silently, observing the stars above. Kira watched them from the shadows. She felt fear, yes, but also a strange respect. These beings had arrived quietly, learned quickly, and claimed control without unnecessary cruelty. They were not monsters, yet they were terrifying. They were human, and they had awakened a force that no one on Vera could easily challenge. Kira made a promise to herself. She would survive. She would learn from the humans. She would find a way to protect her people. Humanity had arrived, and Vera would never be the same. A new era had begun, one in which survival itself was no longer certain. The Orlans had awakened a force greater than they could imagine. Humanity had begun its silent conquest, and the planet trembled in response.